Hi everyone, I would say welcome back to Sheddy's kitchen, but as you can see my surroundings have changed today. You are actually here in my living room. Due to popular demand online, many people are asking me about what they should store in their food cupboard in regards to spices that they require for most of our curry dishes. So in this particular episode, I'm going to be showing you what you should keep as a standard stock item in your spice cupboard, or whether it's your food cupboard, to make sure you can make most of our curries. So let us begin. The first thing you require are fresh tomatoes, and you can actually buy the fresh tomatoes on the day, so that's not really an issue. We like to work quite fresh with most of our ingredients, so tomatoes are what you use. Normally we tend to go for medium-sized tomatoes. Makes no difference, just fresh tomatoes are absolutely fine. The next thing you need is fresh coriander, and again, it is important that you get these fresh. You can freeze them later on if you wanted to do that, but that's not something that we do. We make sure they're fresh. So again, just go out, nip out the day before, make sure you get some fresh coriander. Ensure that they are thoroughly washed before you use these though, because it's likely they're not going to be washed even if they're in packs when you buy them from the supermarket. Make sure you wash them and drain them prior to use. In absolutely all of our curry dishes, you need onions. So make sure you get some fresh onions in. Obviously, you know, you can buy these in larger amounts and just keep them on the side. That's absolutely fine. But fresh onions are a must in nearly every single curry dish that we do. Next thing that's worth having is going to be your ginger. Now, I talk often about this in our cooking show, and I will mention that there's two ways you can actually have this. We always go for a fresh version. Bit differently to how we do it. We will make sure that we crush this down and we keep it in the freezer, and we can use it as and when required. But if you could do it fresh there and then, that's absolutely fine. So get some ginger freshly in, and you want to make it sure that it's actually crushed down to quite small pieces. Alternatively, you can buy these in jars as well. The jars are preserved in some sort of vinegar normally, but I normally wouldn't advise you to use that as often. The fresh ones taste a lot better in dishes. Next is going to be your garlic. Exactly the same as what I've said for ginger as well. Your garlic cloves though, we use them fresh as well. You can crush these down with a garlic press if you want. You can store it away in the freezer and then obviously defrost and use them later on as and when required if you want to store it for a larger period of time. Alternatively, you can buy them in jars again, and they are already crushed down or in small, diced up into very, very small pieces, which are preserved and you can use for a while. Preference again, up to you how you want to cook. I would always go for fresh ones myself. The next thing I would add into there is your green chillies. And obviously green chillies, it depends on how much you use in each curry. It's different, it's purely up to preference. I myself am not a massive fan of very, very chilly foods, but I will reduce the amount of chilli because I can understand that sometimes for me it takes it away from the flavour, but that's purely preference when you make your dishes. But green chillies are a must. Again, you will find they are in most of our dishes when we cook. As well as the fresh tomatoes that we talked about before, some of our curry dishes we will put in peeled tinned tomatoes, so it's worth having some of these cans handy at home as well, because you can do a mixture of the fresh with the tinned, which we often do. So I would definitely keep some peeled tinned tomatoes as well. Moving on a tiny bit now away from the fresh ingredients, I'm going to talk more so about the other types of spices that you require. I'll talk a tiny bit about what they are really in terms of the name and what we might call them in our language. I won't really talk about the history. That's something I will do in the future. We'll talk about the history of each ingredient, but what do you require purely as a stock item in your house for these curries. You'll 100% need salt, so get some cooking salt in. You require that quite a lot in the curry dishes. If you're a massive curry lover, you're going to need a lot of salt. Some black Peppercorn as well, and we've got this in a grinder so we can grind it in, but normally they'll come in packs where they're already ground down and you can actually then use them directly. Some crushed red chili flakes, and these are I'll just show you towards the back as well. You can see that there are in flakes over there, but it's just your red crushed chili flakes that you require. Some of our dishes require that in there. Don't be deterred by the fact that it says Natco on the top. There's many companies that do this. You'll see as we go through this, we use a variety. We have East End, we have Natco, we have Indus as well. So there's many different companies. It depends on who's supplying your local superstore. Mostly Tesco's, Sainsbury's, places like that do it now. If you can't find them in there, I would go into your South Asian superstore. They will have all of these available in packs to you. Next I'll show you, you'll need turmeric powder. This is also known as haldi, but turmeric powder is the English name for it. So that actually goes into almost every single one of our dishes when we make them. So make sure you get yourself a pack of turmeric powder. Now you've got here methi, which is what we call that in our language. It's also known as dried fenugreek leaves. That's definitely something, you won't use this one as much, but definitely something you need in your cupboard for the odd few curries. The next thing we've got here is your cumin seeds. We call that jeera. There's two ways you can use jeera. These are the full seeds. You can buy them where it's already been, they've ground it down into a powder. So, or you can do that directly at home. So if you've got a mortar and pestle, you can just crush them and make it into a powder. So it depends on what we're doing in our ingredients. I'd personally stick with the seeds and then crush them as and when required, because if you need a curry whereby you just need to use the seeds whole, you've got that there available. And if you need it in a powder form, you can crush it at home. So it's not a big issue there, and you're not having to spend money twice to get them in a powdered form and in the full seeds. I've shown you fresh coriander already, but you're going to require ground coriander as well. So with this one, you'll have to buy it in a pack. So this is a powdered form of the same thing. Make sure you got a pack of that available at all times. You will find in most of our curry dishes, you're using both fresh coriander and you're using powdered coriander as well. Next, red chili powder. This is certainly going to go into every single one of your curry dishes when you use it. So red chili powder, again, you just need it as a chili powder. Quite easy to get hold of. That's something that you're going to need in your stock cupboard. We've got one final more ingredient that I would suggest that you have at home, and that's what we use often in our dishes, and it's quite heavy. We've got it, you can clearly see we use a lot of this at home already, and it's sunflower oil. So we buy them in large amounts. Obviously, you know, you can buy them in 1 litre bottles as well, or 2 litre bottles, but we use a large amount here, so we tend to go for the bigger bottle of sunflower oil. This is going to be in every single one of your curry dishes pretty much as well. And that should be everything that you require in your food cupboard or in your spice cupboard that you require to make most of our recipes. What I would say, there's always the odd time where we'll make a recipe where you might need something very slightly different, but these are the common things that you should always have in your cupboard. And if you are going to be following more of our dishes going forward, which I'm sure you are, you're watching this video now, these are the ones that we advise you to have in store, so you're not dashing out last minute to get the ingredients. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you want to keep up with more of our recipes, which we will be doing on a weekly basis, please make sure you subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell, because what that does is it sends you updates of whenever we have new content available on our site. Thank you for watching.